Today's topic is understanding life. And it's based on chapter 3 of the Vedanta Treatise. So we continue our study of this magnificent work, this contribution to humanity. Truly a manual for life and living. The chapter is entitled Life Its Course, and it follows what we were discussing last week about that if we are to search for truth, the purpose of our existence, the meaning of being here, we have to start with what we know and proceed from what we know to what we don't know, solving these mysteries. In these next 2 classes, we are going to analyze what we know, the world and the human being. In short, life. So we have the opportunity today to analyze, to deconstruct, put life into its ingredients and constituents. Socrates says, the unexamined life is not worth living. But the opposite of that, what he doesn't say, the examined life becomes purposeful, becomes enthusiastic, becomes more than worth living, something you look forward to. So let us start our analysis. What is life? I know we have a few stalwarts here. What is the definition of life? Usually when I ask a new audience, and all of you are welcome to unmute and speak. Usually when I ask a new audience, what is life? I get some very poetic answers. Life is poetry. Life is happiness. Life is... Wait, hold on. We're asking about definitions. A definition means it should apply to everyone. Life, we can all agree, is this interim between birth, where it starts, and death. And between birth and death, we have what is called a series of experiences. In Sanskrit, the phrase is Anubhava Dhara, a flow of experiences, one after the other, after the other, after the other. Okay, so let's start the analysis. So if the unit of life is an experience, if we want to build a beautiful, happy life, it stands to reason we need to have beautiful, happy experiences. As the units, so the total, the sum. So let's take that one step further. Have a look at the diagram. If we want to improve the quality of our life, we need to improve the quality of its units. Those are the experiences. And an experience is made up of 2 factors in life. The subject, you are the common factor in all your experiences, and there is the object, world. That is the object of your experience. So right now, this lecture, this session is an object for you. Perhaps after this, for some of you, it might be dinner. For others, it might be an afternoon walk. Depends where you are, what your next experience is. But what we must realize is it takes both the factors to make the experience. How the subject meets the object will determine the experience, and as your experiences, so the life. From observation, where are most of our efforts directed towards? Improving the subject or improving the object?
Object.
Object. If we look at our day, how many hours are spent in pursuit of improving our homes, our business, our cars, phones, clothes, body? How much of our day is invested in this subject? Now, science has done a wonderful job. It has worked and improved the object. We can talk to each other. I can see your reactions. For those of you who put your videos on, I can see how you're receiving the subject. And you're in different countries. Incredible. Technology has enabled this. Science has made our lives more convenient, but has it increased the quality of our experience? How are we having better experiences? Can we say today that we are happier than we were last year, 5 years ago? So whilst it is important to keep on improving the object, if we're not improving the quality of our experience, what's the point? And the problem is there has been a lopsided development. The individual, the subject, you, has been neglected to a point of fault. Swamiji, the author of the book, Swami Parthasarathy, was invited to speak at Brookhaven National Laboratory. It's one of the top academic research institutions in the US. So he's addressing all the scientists, top leading scientists in the world. And he's giving a similar lecture. He says, you as scientists have done a wonderful job. And all the scientists are beaming. Of course we have. What we've done for the world. You've all done a wonderful job in improving the world, but all of you have failed miserably. Suddenly they're shocked. What do you mean, failed miserably? Because, and Swamiji continues, hasn't the advent, the improvement of the world been to improve the quality of experience and happiness of human beings? But we find human beings are not happier in the world today. All our advancement has been for naught. There is definitely improvement, convenience. But whilst we develop the world, let us also spend some time on the individual. It is something like this. Imagine if in the wild, we have the carnivores, we have the herbivores, and we have vegetation. Imagine if you were to improve the skills of the carnivores. They would be able to camouflage themselves better. They would be able to hunt more efficiently, more effectively. What would happen? If you were to improve just the skills of the carnivores. So herbivores also have skills, sharp hearing, smell. But if you were to improve just the skills of the carnivores, what will happen?
Lost
All
of
the
balance.
herbivores would go extinct.
The balance will be completely gone. So what will happen is the carnivores will be hunting so effectively, efficiently, they'll wipe out the herbivores. No herbivores, no food. How beautifully nature balances this ecosystem for us. Similarly, with human beings, we are increasing the pace of our life. We are digesting more information on a daily basis than we were 50, even 20 years ago. But with all this information, with the speed of life increasing, are we able to manage it? Is the solution slow down, stop advancing the world? No. It's akin to this. In our expressways, Mumbai, Pune, for a long time, beautiful expressways, 3-4 lanes up, 3-4 lanes down, and the speed limit is 80 kilometers per hour. And the government keeps it at a low speed to prevent accidents. And yet, almost every trip that we go on, there will be an accident. In some places, as in Germany, on the Autobahn, there's not a maximum speed, there is a minimum speed. Minimum speed is 120. In some places, there is no speed limit at all, and yet very few accidents. Therefore, the accident is not dependent on the speed, it is dependent on the skill of driving. So rather than reducing the speed, rather than slowing down, stopping the advancement of the world, let us understand we need to improve the individual, to improve also the quality of experience in our lives. In boating, if you have a higher mast, which the sail is attached to, you've got to have a deeper keel. This keeps the boat afloat. It's balanced. If you are going to be in a powerful position, if you are going to be wealthy, if you are going to be famous, we need to develop our personality to handle wealth, fame, I would say even beauty. You need personality to handle this. We see so many young people, whether it's in sports, or Hollywood, Bollywood, acting, politicians with power. With a little power, it's not difficult to be honorable. But when the stakes are raised, how do you deal with that? How do you handle that aspect? We need to develop our character. So this is the idea. We need to work on the individual. So today's session is about this individual mechanism. What does it mean when we say you? What does the individual constitute? And this is where we move forward. But before we go ahead, are we all okay? We understand life has two components. We've been investing in the external aspect, improving and trying to change the world. Vedanta is now going to focus on the individual, the you, developing the subject, but also the subject's relationship with the world. Why are we doing this? It will improve the quality of our experience, which will improve the quality of our life. And as we continue, we'll solve the mysteries of life. So let's get going. The individual mechanism. Every human being is made up of matter and spirit. Matter, there are three equipments: the body, mind, intellect. The spirit is the enlivening factor that allows the body to function, the mind to feel emotions, the intellect to think. This spirit functioning through the matter is something like electricity functioning through different equipments. So when electricity functions through a fridge, it cools. When it functions through a heater, it heats. When it functions through a fan, it blows air. So the nature of the activity is in the equipment, but it's the same electricity passing and enlivening them all. Now, a human being is made up of all four: a body, a mind, an intellect, and the electricity running through all of them. That is the self, the spirit. We know the body. Perhaps. Body for sure we know. Look how much time we dedicate to the body. Feeding it, clothing it, nourishing it, exercising it. Mind, yes, we can relate to emotions. Intellect, maybe not so much. That could do with some work. But this self, spirit, no idea. And yet, depending on what you identify with, so the quality of your life, so the quality of your experience. If you identify with the body, when the body is well, you're smiling. When the body is not well, you're frowning. When somebody attacks your body, you are fearful. The body goes up and down, changes. And as you age, torturous. Hair is graying. Hair is going, not just graying. And I would say some people are lucky to have gray hair. It's better than having no hair. If you're attached to the body, every aspect of growing older is painful. If you're attached to your mind, mind has good days, mind has bad days. Mind has bad phases. Sometimes for an extended period of time, you feel low, down. If you identify with the intellect, you're stabler. But if you identify with the spirit part of you and look at your equipments almost as if it was somebody else's, it's called being objective. So you look at your body and you say, look, body, this is just another cold. It's okay. It'll pass. Relax. Don't get so irritated. Don't get so worried. But if you identify with the body, you think you're dying. You know, just one cough and you're, darling, please tell the children I love them. You're just coughing. You have a cold. It's okay. But for that, you need to identify with something beyond your body, mind, intellect. The word ecstasy comes from two Sanskrit words, two Latin words, ex stare. Ex means out, stare means to stand. So to be ecstatic or experience ecstasy means to stand outside of your personality. When you identify with the self, the spirit, this is why those who have reached self-realization are blissful, because they stand outside the body, mind, intellect, and they enjoy whatever happens, whatever experience the body, mind, intellect goes through. It is like watching television. It's so entertaining. Seeing a movie, even if it's a tragic movie, you're able to enjoy it. So what a beautiful movie, Romeo and Juliet. What do you mean beautiful? Romeo died, Juliet died, a host of others died, and you're saying beautiful movie. Why are you able to appreciate it? Objectivity. But when you are involved in it, you cannot enjoy it. The smallest of things become entertainment when you're objective. Why are soap operas, TV shows so entertaining? Because we're apart from it. But if that drama was happening in our own life, will we say, oh, this is free entertainment? Wonderful. We don't have that objectivity. So yes, so as far as the individual mechanism goes, we want to move closer towards the self, spirit, identify with that aspect. But we'll get to that. Let's start with what we know, the body, mind, intellect. The body consists of organs of perception and organs of action. Here it is. So the organs of perception are your senses. That's how we receive the world. So eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin, your senses. Organs of action is how we respond to the world. So your hands, feet, your mouth, genital organs, organs of excretion. This is how you act in the world. But behind every action, there is the mind and the intellect. The mind is that part of you which is irrational. It is the emoting, feeling aspect of your personality. Our prejudices, our inclinations, tendencies is all part of the mind. What your favorite color is, what sport you enjoy playing, all part of the mind. A human being also has an intellect. And the intellect is this ability to take a step back and pause. So mind doesn't pause, the mind flows. Intellect can pause, examine a thought, examine an emotion, be aware of an emotion. It weighs up the pros, weighs up the cons, and comes to a conclusion, and then decides to act. Now, when we have to perform an action, are we using our mind? Are we using our intellect? Or are we using both? Depends on each scenario. A human being is a feeling and thinking being. For those of you who have started this journey in Vedanta, you will hear class after class, develop your intellect, develop your intellect, develop your intellect. And you may get the wrong notion that the intellect should be strong and we should not have feelings, emotions. That is not Vedanta. Vedanta says you must elevate your emotions too. Why? A human being is a feeling and thinking being. An animal is a feeling, reacting, impulsive being. But it has a programmed nature that takes care of its feelings. So you won't find an animal indulging. You won't find an animal overmating, overeating. It is regulated by nature. But as a human being, we have these feelings, we have these impulses, but nature has provided us an intellect to decide when to act on it, when not to act on it, whether to regulate it or allow it. But are we using the intellect? Every decision we make is this conversation between mind and intellect. Think of an example, a choice, where these two come into play. So often I give the diabetic example, just because it's so easy to conceive. So there's a diabetic, and to this diabetic, you offer some chocolate. Now, another thing about this diabetic is that they have a sweet tooth. Often, people become diabetic because of having a sweet tooth. This diabetic has a sweet tooth. I offer him chocolate. What does the diabetic's mind say? I like chocolate. I feel for chocolate. I want chocolate. What does the diabetic's intellect say? Not a good idea. Remember what happened last time? You had to go to the clinic, get an injection, not worth it. No, thank you. Interestingly, and this is where the conversation is complex when we look at scenarios that we go through. The intellect might agree with the mind and say, hold on, you've been very good with your sugar this week. Your sugar is low. It looks like pretty fine chocolate. I think you can afford this. So the mind has the chocolate. Mind says, eat the chocolate. Intellect says, it's okay, eat the chocolate. Both are agreeing with each other. But what's the difference?
The mind is just based on feelings that you feel like having the chocolate, whereas the intellect is actually reasoning it out and taking an informed decision that yes, it should be okay because of certain factors.
That's it. It's an informed decision. It's thought out. So is the intellect trying to stop the mind's joy? Of course not. The intellect is weighing up that instant joy versus the regret. So the intellect is not a mood killer, a joy killer. The intellect, because it has the element of reason, is able to think, how do I enjoy for longer? Whereas the mind, because it doesn't have rationale, it doesn't have the ability to see consequences, thinks about the next kick, the next high. Now, the problem is, what happens if they disagree? Mind says, eat the chocolate. Intellect says, don't. What will the diabetic do?
Depends on if he has a stronger mind or a stronger intellect. If he has a stronger mind, he will give in to the temptation. And if he has a stronger intellect, he'll resist the temptation.
That's it. So often people usually answer what they would do. And most people say, he'll eat the chocolate. Because that's what they would do. What do you say? Are you saying you would eat the chocolate? You say, yes, I would eat the chocolate. But you will suffer. Yes, I know I will suffer. And this is where it is frightening. Because if the intellect says don't eat the chocolate and the intellect is stronger than the mind, no problem. But if your mind is stronger than your intellect, even though you know you should not do something, even though you know the consequences, what will happen? You will have regret. Because the mind is stronger than your intellect, you will eat the chocolate, suffer. We are a victim of our own minds, our own desires, our own impulses, our own likes. Does anyone here want to be miserable? Does anyone here want to be ill-disciplined? Not in good shape, unhealthy? No. Of course not. Then what stops us from living the way we would like to? One of the recommendations we make in the Vedanta Sessions is about waking up early. And I know a few of you are planning a visit to the academy soon. So you'll get a taste of it. The reason for the early morning, it's the best time to develop your intellect. And you're convinced. You say, yes, I've experienced it very few times in my life. I saw a sunrise about 23 years ago. It was beautiful. And it's a peaceful time. Yes, I'd like to experience it more often. But what happens? You set your alarm for 5:30, 5:15. When the alarm goes off, your mind goes on. And it says, 5 more minutes. Snooze button. 5 more minutes. Snooze button. And that snooze button goes on until the morning study is over. You have to get on with your day. We're not able to do what we want to do because of our own mind. We would like to react better when people criticize us, when family provokes us, when colleagues disappoint us. We'd like to react better, but intellect is weak, mind is strong. Now, the body, mind, intellect can be divided into this wonderful mechanism, which we're going to compare to the workings of a factory. And we're going to show how at the body level, at the mind level, at the intellectual level, each aspect of this factory can be improved. So the individual mechanism consists of the 3 R's: receipt, reaction, response. And the entire cycle of life goes through these 3 R's. What are we doing constantly? We're receiving the world through our organs of perception, reacting with it with our mind and intellect, and then responding back into the world. So right now, you're hearing a lecture. Depending on your mind and intellect, if it is stimulating you, it shows in your face, it shows in your reaction. If it's not, saying, no, the subject is not for me, what is the response? You don't attend next class. You continue this class, maybe investigate further, what else you can do to deepen your study. Receipt, reaction, response. So see this diagram, and you can see how the individual's components fit into this mechanism. The world enters you. Can you all see it? Yeah. The world enters you.
Yep.
You receive stimuli from the world. So you receive sight through your eye. You receive sound waves through your ears, taste through your tongue. So the world enters you through your organs of perception, and then you react with it. I like it, I don't like it, I desire it. And then you decide, now, what am I going to do? Am I going to continue in this particular angle or not continue? And then response, how do you respond back into the world? With your organs of action. Example, you get an email that a great singer is coming to your city. Okay. Anyone has someone in mind, a favorite singer? Who? You're all concerned about revealing your taste in music.
Rahat Fateh Ali Khan.
Oh, that's a safe choice. Very talented musician. I was going to say Michael Bublé. Michael Bublé is coming to your city. And you see the email. So what happened? You saw the details of it. Or Ali Khan, you saw the details of it. It enters you. Reaction now. Oh, yeah, I like that music. Or I don't like the music. He's just singing the same old songs. I'd rather listen to the originals. Depending on your mind and intellect, it has a conversation. Maybe you have a look at the price of the tickets. You have a look at the dates. If your mind likes Michael Bublé very much, you go straight to reaction. To receipt, reaction, response. So you go straight to response. And you buy the ticket. But if your intellect comes into play, it asks a few questions. Hold on. What date is this on? Don't I have a paper due? Don't I have a deadline due? I'm not sure if I can afford this time at a concert. Or maybe I can. And it decides. So if we go back to the diagram, and here's the difference. If you use your mind, right? If you see it on the diagram, if you use your mind, you will go directly from receipt to response. Okay? So the mind is there, but you react straight away. So depending what is the quality of your impulse or your emotion or your desire, that's what you do. So someone criticizes you, your mind goes, I don't like being criticized, and you criticize them back. You're defensive. You go straight receipt to response. There's no pause in that the reaction level. If you do use your intellect, there is a pause. And in that pause, you can decide what you're going to do with the stimuli, what you're going to do the world, and then decide your response back into the world. What this means, in that second hour, in that reaction, we have the ability to choose our responses into the world. Viktor Frankl, a great thinker, who went through some of the traumas of World War II. He says, everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. And see the words he uses, exactly ties in with the language that we are studying in the Vedanta Treatise. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. What is that space? Our reaction level. In that space is our power to choose our response, in brackets, provided I have a strong intellect. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. We can choose how we respond to the world. It all depends if we make use of reaction. Now, coming back to this factory metaphor. This factory is producing products. It receives raw material. The raw material is processed with the machinery. And the last thing is the final product, which comes out. Now let's do a quality control at every stage. So if we want to improve this production, what would we need to do in the factory metaphor? What can we do?
Get the right products.
Right product. Well, that's the end part. What can we do in the production to get right products, good products?
Improve the raw material quality.
Great. So improve the raw material. What else?
Train your
Ensure
labor.
the machines are working well.
Sorry, what things?
The machines are working well.
Machines are working well. Okay, so check, maintain the machines, check that they're working well, service the machines. Okay.
The people part train the labor. I mean the technicians.
Operating the machines, great. Okay.
Make sure that the process is optimized.
Processes are optimized, streamlined. Yeah. So
Do a quality check.
and do a quality check. Well, these essentially are the three things. One is the raw material, get better raw material. The second one is, let us improve the processing. So either we upgrade the machines, we optimize the processes, we handle them, use them better. Okay, so this is the processing. The third one is the final product that comes out, we need to do a quality control. Check, is everything going fine? Now let's bring this to our personality. What are the raw materials? Now we're equating the example. Receipt. Receipt of what?
External stimuli.
Of external stimuli. Now, if we want to improve the quality of the raw materials, what it means is we need to improve the quality of the stimuli that we are receiving in the individual mechanism. What does this mean? What kind of music do you listen to? It has an effect. It has an impact. What kind of food are you eating? What kind of books are you reading? What kind of people are you associating with? What are you hearing? Have we ever looked at life as one line? There is my goal, and if that is my goal, how can I align the various aspects of my life to it, including what radio station I put on, what meal I decide to have, how heavy the meal should be. If you do a quality control and start thinking, look, I want to be a better business person. I want to be a more self-developed person. I'd like to be more charitable. What are the stimuli that you're receiving? You might say, I have no choice. The world is it's an onslaught of stimuli. It's just attacking me with stimuli. Of course, you have a choice. You decide what channel you watch, what movie you watch. You can decide your company too. In Sanskrit, the word is called satsang. It's company of the good. But the satsang has a particular connotation. It means the company of the good that will take you to self-realization. Company that will help you evolve. But it's not just people, it's environments. It is stimuli. Now have a look at your environment, your circle of friends, the way you spend your day. Can you improve the quality of stimuli? Perhaps, maybe, we may drink too much and we find that the alcohol clouds our thinking. Straight away, we can see, this stimulus is not helping me think clearly and I want to think clearer. I need to reduce. This is affecting my health. I want to be healthy. Choose the stimuli. There was a tennis player, Pat Cash, and he had won the Wimbledon from not being in the reckoning a year before. So they asked him in the post-match interviews, and in these post-match interviews, that's where you get a lot of the philosophy, because you get to see their thinking processes. And in the interview, the commentator asked him, Pat, what did you do? How is it that your game has improved extraordinarily? And the commentator and the tennis world thought he would give some tips that he worked on his forehand, or he did a different type of spin on his service. He's hitting the ball earlier. They thought they would get some insight like that. And he said, I stopped smoking. I started eating better. I started running 10 kilometers a day. I woke up early. And you'll be thinking, what does waking up earlier have to do with tennis? Everything. All these small contributory stimuli, activities help your main target. If all of it is aligned to your target, it is called consistency. If you are consistent, if everything you do, everything you hear, everything you receive is towards your goal, what can you not achieve? There is a power in your action. Water in one direction is hydroelectric power. Light in one direction is laser. Wind in one direction is wind power. Your actions in one direction is shaping your destiny. So this is the first R, receipt. Okay, let's improve the quality of our raw material, the stimuli. The second is our machines. Now, what are our machines at the reaction level? Our mind, our intellect. How do you develop the intellect? Weekly Sunday classes? How's it going?
Daily study.
Daily study. Practice. We develop the intellect through using the intellect. And the idea is this mind and intellect, they're essentially just thoughts. And whatever the quality of our machines, it's because of our past thinking. So if we are going to optimize, if we are going to upgrade our machines, we need to invest in better, consistent thoughts. This is developing the intellect. Now, if you're going to develop the intellect, you've got a backlog of 30, 40, 50 years of thinking that we need to demolish and rebuild. There's a quote, the Alvin Toffler, he says, the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. We need to unlearn things that are not relevant and relearn. And with our intellect, we need to start using it. And for that, I would recommend first thing in the morning, when that time of the day is the most conducive for intellectual development, provoke yourself with material that is higher. So a higher thought, a thought on life, and get your intellect activated. Do it daily. Why I say daily is once a week, it helps. So it does do something. You will all say that you benefited in some way from the exposure of these classes. But that benefit is nothing compared to if you were to be consistent and do it daily. I'm saying half an hour, 1 hour, that's it. Rest of the day doesn't matter what you do. But if you've set your intellect right, the rest of your day falls into place. Make it a habit, make it an exercise. And the e-learning course is one practical way to do it, because it is the author giving you the material, explaining the material, provoking you, so you know how to move. You just keep going, following that pattern. So this is the reaction level. You've got to develop the intellect. 2 ways of developing the intellect is, one is the morning study, but in the evening, we can do a practice called introspection. And introspection is where we go through the activities of our day. It should be the last thing that you do in the day, and it should be a 5-minute activity where you close your eyes and just recount everything that you remember. Woke up, got some coffee, went to my laptop, started my e-learning, was feeling a little bit sleepy, paused it after half an hour, walked around a bit, came back, finished the lecture, got ready, etc. Now you do this right till the end of your day. Now what this repetition does, if you're consistent with your introspection, is it starts making your available intellect. So it doesn't strengthen your intellect, but it makes the intellect that you have available, or the intellect that you have, it makes that intellect available. Means often we regret things. It's not because we didn't have the intellect, it's just that we never used it. So this introspection starts bringing your intellect into your day. So if you start remembering, I brush my teeth day in, day out, suddenly as you're brushing your teeth, an action that used to be mechanical, routine, suddenly, because you've been repeating it at the time of introspection, the next day when you brush your teeth, you're putting the toothpaste on the toothbrush and the intellect goes, hey, I'm here. And then suddenly you're actually aware how much toothpaste you're putting on the toothbrush. And you think, oh, I didn't realize. I don't need so much toothpaste. This is how it comes. You're arguing about the same thing with your children, with your spouse. Intellect starts coming in and says, oh, I don't need to argue this time. Why get upset? Increase my blood pressure. Is there a different way of handling this? Makes your current intellect available. But until then, if the intellect is not strong enough, the mind is dictating our actions at the reaction level, at least try and be aware. Okay, yes, mind is taken over, but be aware of it. Because at least if we're aware, perhaps we can do some damage control. We can curtail the influence of the mind. Although we may not be able to control it completely, be aware. This is the reaction level, the machinery. And the last one is the responses. We said the quality control, checking the products. So the quality control in the individual mechanism is the quality of your actions. Do they produce agitation or do they produce happiness, peace. If they are producing agitation, it means that we are functioning selfishly. It means that at the reaction level, we are acting out of selfishness. Why? Selfishness causes agitation. Unselfishness causes less agitation, more peace. So have a look at your actions. Are they causing agitations or peace? If they're causing agitations, it means we need to go back into our system, check the raw material, check the processing of our mind and intellect. How can we be more unselfish? This is the individual mechanism. This is all we have to do, friends. Work on our stimuli, develop our intellect and the quality of our emotions from selfish to unselfish, and do a quality control to check that we're on the right track. That's it. This is the prescription of every human being. Be the best version of yourself. Each one of us has a body, mind, intellect. They're different. We have been given these equipments because it is the best for our evolution. There's a line in this chapter which is so inspiring. It says, your present nature is best suited for your evolution. Why do you want to be like someone else? Why do you want someone else's nature? Their nature is best suited for their evolution. For you to have their nature will not help you evolve. We just need to focus on our receipts, our reactions, our responses. Be the best version of yourself. You have all the tools you need right now at your disposal to take you all the way up to self-realization. It's like a car traveling at night to a city maybe 300 kilometers away. You only have your headlights, which can at maximum light up the next 40, 50 meters. But that 40, 50 meters is enough to take you all the way to your destination. Similarly, stop comparing. Comparing is a waste of time. It ruins our peace of mind. It has no productive aspect in it. You are you, he is he, she is she. Problems happen is when you want he to be you, you to be she. But how will she be? She will be she. He will be he. You want the third child to be more like the first child. You want your spouse to be like what you think is best. She will be she. And how will you be? Same thing to yourself. I will be I. There's a beautiful poem that we'll end with called The Mountain and the Squirrel. And it talks about how we're all part of a cosmos. We have a role to play. Instead of comparing and saying, I'm superior, you're inferior, understand that this is a cosmos, not a chaos. Like an orchestra has different instruments. There are some loud, there are some soft, but all have a part to play in this melody of existence. Now, this mountain and the squirrel in this poem, it's in the book, they're arguing. Because the mountain is saying, hey, squirrel, you're acting too big for your boots. I'm the guy who carries the mountains on his back. What do you do? To which the squirrel philosophizes. And here it is. The Mountain and the Squirrel by Ralph Waldo Emerson. So Emerson, great American poet, writer. Simple poem, such deep philosophy. The mountain and the squirrel had a quarrel, and the former called the latter little prig, conceited guy. Bun replied, you're doubtless very big. So this is the squirrel talking. You're doubtless very big, he says to the mountain. But all sorts of things in weather must be taken in together to make up a year and a sphere. And I think it no disgrace to occupy my place. If I'm not so large as you, you're not so small as I. Next slide, please. I'll not deny you make a very pretty squirrel track. So he acknowledges the mountain. But then he says, talents differ. All is well and wisely put. If I cannot carry forests on my back, neither can you crack a nut. What is the point of finding one aspect of comparison and comparing? I have more than you, you have less than me, therefore I'm better. But in another area, you may not be as talented. Why are we taking those specific areas and making ourselves feel superior or inferior? Take what you've got and improve, be the best version of yourself. There's some powerful quotes on comparison. And the first one is by Marcus Aurelius about the sheer amount of time we waste comparing ourselves with others. We're so worried about what other people think of ourselves rather than spending time improving what we are. Marcus Aurelius, he says, how much time he gains who does not look to see what his neighbor says or does or thinks, but only at what he does himself to make it just and holy. Rather than spending time on what others think of you, use that time to improve who you are. And Mark Twain, he puts it simply. Comparison is the death of joy. Why have this complex? These complexes of superiority or inferiority, they rise from a lack of understanding of how the world is. If you truly understand the world, you will understand that you need the carnivore, you need the herbivore, you need the vegetation. You need the insects, you need the bees. Now we are realizing, because mobile towers are killing bees, we need the bees for pollination, because from pollination we have fruits. Such a small insect playing such an important part. Talents differ. All is well and wisely put. We need a CEO. We also need the labor. But the labor unions think they're more important than the managers. The managers think they're more important. We're a composite whole. If we have this feeling, we will respect each other's role. But more importantly, as far as the individual mechanism goes, and today's message, we will try and identify what is my role? What am I designed to do and contribute in this world? What is the instrument or notes that I'm supposed to play? And play it well, beautifully, to the best of my ability. How? Number one, improve the quality of your stimuli. Let it all be directed towards your goal. Number two, improve your intellect through your morning study. Make it available during the day through introspection at night. Improve the quality of your experiences, of your emotions from selfish to unselfish. And when you act, ask yourself, are my actions causing happiness or agitation? If it's agitation, go back, work at the reaction level, work at the receipt. Your present nature is best suited for your evolution. Use it to elevate yourself. Stop comparing. That is the individual mechanism. And that's it. Next week, we will study the nature of the world. How can the individual adapt to the changing world? Another practical, fascinating topic on handling adversity, challenge, competition. So we end the class there. We continue with our study of the Vedanta Treatise for another 3 Sundays. And just an announcement. There is a retreat for youth coming up in December and a retreat for international participants in February. So for those of you who have teenagers, well, actually from the ages of 12 to 24, they're most welcome to visit the Academy, 18th to the 22nd of December. So in our website, we have the different avenues. So we have e-learning. So for those of you who are not in e-learning, you can find out more details. I would suggest try it out for a month, see how it works in your routine, experience the difference. Then you've got the International Treat Youth Camp. And if you scroll down, you will see the upcoming activities that Avanya and myself have planned. Paresh is hosting us in Nairobi. We have a series of events in January and then Mauritius. And then you also have access to the lectures. So I do email all of you the links, but this website, vedantan.online, is a place where you can find all the information. So we close the session there.